Hey guys, what's up? It's Alex or Nuznuz here, and in this video we're going to be ranking all RuneScape's bosses and see the most profitable bosses in the game. I like doing this around every year or so because updates happen to the bosses. We've had a lot of updates to make bosses soloable, and we've had new bosses be released, so I thought this would be fun to do. It's not too serious, so don't take it super serious. I'm just looking kind of at the GP per hour, putting them where I think they go, and kind of giving a nice little list of the best and worst bosses based on profitability. So if you like this sort of stuff, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content, and let's get into this. All right, so we're gonna start with Ambassador. So I've had crazy luck here, but Ambassador, usually you're gonna make around 30 to 40 mil an hour in the long run if you're doing like 2 runs per hour solo. Now if you can do 3, it bumps it up to like a little over 50 to 60 mil per hour. So I'm gonna put this in A tier. I think it's close to S tier. I'm thinking like S tier's like 80 mil an hour or something like that, and then SS tier is probably like 100 mil, the best of the best. So we'll put Ambassador here in A tier. Next we have Next AOD, and AOD is it's pretty good. It's hard for me not to put it in SS tier because it is like over 100 mil an hour. So I might change my mind, but I'm gonna put it up here for now because 100 mil an hour is really insane. So next we have Araxor, which I feel like Araxor items have gone up quite a bit in price. Like the spider leg actually goes for way more than I remember it going for when I did Araxor. But some of the normal drops like onyxes and stuff have gone down. So I'm going to put Araxor at around 30 to 45 mil an hour, depending on your kill speeds. So I think it goes in B tier. It's kind of in the middle here, but I'm going to put Rax in B tier. So very, very solid. And next we also have the Archglacier, which you guys know I've got a lot of experience there, and the Archglacier I would say goes in this tier with the Ambassador. If you're streaking and you get good luck, or not good luck, but normal RNG on the core. Imagine normal RNG on the core. If you get that, you're probably going to make like 50 to 60 mil an hour in the long run streaking if you can streak decently high. So I'm going to put Archglacier in the A tier. I don't think it's quite in the S tier based on, you know, some of the other ED3 bosses. So next we have the Blackstone Dragon, which it's showing the other ED2 boss. So I'm just going to bring the Blackstone Dragon up here instead. So the Blackstone Dragon is going to be around, you can make around the same as Ambassador, maybe a little bit less. I think he's going to go in the B tier, but the upper echelon of B tier, you can probably make a good, 40-ish mil an hour there, depending on how many runs you can do. So again, very, very solid. So next we actually have Barrows. So a lot of people actually hate on Barrows, but it's not actually too bad. You can probably make around 10 to 15 mil an hour doing it. Now you're not going to make, 30 mil an hour or anything close to these bosses, but it's not a bad boss, especially if you're a lower level. So I'm going to put it in D tier. It's actually decent. We have Chaos Elemental, which is notoriously kind of bad money. The only thing you have there is the chance at like a Statius Warhammer or something, albeit way more rare than doing something like Revenants. So yeah, if you're going to Chaos Elemental, more than likely you're just hunting the pet and you're not really trying to make any money. So next we have Corporal Beast, which is kind of in the same area as Barrows to me. You're going to make a decent amount in normal drops, maybe around, 7 to 8 mil per hour. And then you have the Sigils, which actually have gone up a lot in price because people use them at Zamorak a lot. So the Sigils actually, go for a decent amount, which means this kind of is up a little bit, but the Sigils are just so rare that they're not really, doing much in terms of how much GP per hour you're making, just because you don't get a sigil that often, so it's lower in the GP per hour. So Corpus is on the upper end of D. You could argue C, but I'm going to put it in, the 15 mil, 10 to 15 mil-ish range per hour. Next, we have everybody's favorite boss, which is Croesus. I get so many comments about how many of you love Croesus and how good of money it is. I've done a bit of Croesus. I haven't gotten any drops yet, but based on the GP per hour, it seems like you can get around 60 to 70 mil per hour in the long term. This accounts for like Crypt Bloom drops and stuff like that in a team of 4. So Croesus is going to go for me on the upper end of A tier. So while it's not quite in that 80, 90, 100 mil GP per hour in S tier, it's very, very close. Definitely feel like it's better GP per hour than these two, but it's debatable. It's super close. All around a very, very solid boss. Now next we have Dagnoth Kings, which I actually really like doing Dagnoth Kings, and rings have gone up a ton in price. So like a Seer's ring is over like 10 mil, an Archer's ring's almost 10 mil, a Berserk ring's like 7 mil. So the rings actually go for quite a bit since Rex Matriarchs came out. So at Dagnoth Kings, you're probably going to look at around 20 mil-ish, maybe more, maybe a little bit more per hour if you're a high level doing it. So I'm going to put that in C tier. I've had a lot of fun there and made a really good amount of money. So they're a very solid option. We next have the Giant Mole, which is definitely going to go in the F tier. There's really not much you're getting from the boss. While it is nice for learners to go and kind of learn mechanics while doing a boss that is kind of, has mechanics, but it's kind of easy-ish, it doesn't really drop anything that rewarding. So that is definitely going to go in F tier. So now we're on to Bandos from God Wars 1. Now, God Wars 1 is very old at this point, so it makes sense that this would be an F tier. It's not horrible. It's not like Chaos Elemental, but it isn't near that like 10 mil GP per hour. You're going to make maybe a few mil, 3 to 4 mil per hour maybe here, getting a decent amount of kills per hour, but it is, a chill place to go. So next we have Greg, which is from God Wars 2, and Greg is pretty solid. You can probably make around 20, a little bit more GP, 20 mil plus GP per hour here. It's pretty chill if you have like a higher level setup. So that's going to go in the C tier as well. So will Hellweir. God Wars 2 is just pretty solid, nothing crazy, but just a pretty solid place to go and make 15 to 20 mil an hour in a relatively chill fashion. Now while we're here, we might as well do it. Twin Furies and Vindicta, they all sort of fall into this similar area. I think Hellweir and Greg are kind of the best, and then Twin Furies and Vindicta are last, but they all kind of fall into that 12 to 20 mil GP per hour area, so all very solid and all decent options to make some money. Next we have Cowfight King, and this kind of depends how you're doing it. If you're doing it with a big group of people, you're probably not going to make nearly as much money, but if you're doing it solo or duo, you can probably make around 15 to 25 mil-ish an hour. I don't think it quite gets into that B tier, but it's definitely going to be in C tier as well. I feel like a decent amount of these mid-level bosses, or I guess Cowfight King might not be mid-level, might be a little higher level, but still falls into that sense. Really, you're just aiming for those Drygores. Next, we have the Cowfight Queen, which definitely goes into the F tier. Why am I doing this boss? You're not really going to get anything crazy here. Very, very old boss, very outdated, but you can still, hunt for the pet there, but all around, nothing too crazy there. You're not going to make much. Same here with the King Black Dragon. So next we have Karapek. So Karapek solo is notoriously insane money. Maybe 6 to 8 months ago, it probably would have been up at the very top of this list. The Armadillo, the Fractured Staff of Armadillo, has gone down a bit since then, but I would still definitely put Karapek in the 80, 90, possibly can squeeze to 100 mil per hour depending on how many solos you can get per hour. I still feel like it's on the cusp of the SS tier. It's very, very close. I'm kind of really debating whether I should put it here or not. I feel like I should, since I have Next AOD here. It's very close, but it's very good money. This would by far be number one 6 to 8 months ago, but it's very, very solid of a boss. And if you can learn it and do solos, something I'm still trying to do, you're going to make a ton. So next we have Armadillo, and Armadillo, surprisingly, you can actually make a decent amount. I did make a guide a while back, and I was making a decent amount, and you can still make a decent amount, mostly because the Armadillo items are used to disassemble. It's not going to be 15 mil an hour or anything like that, but it doesn't, I don't think, deserve to be in F tier. I think it does deserve to be in like the bottom of D tier. You can make a solid, 5, 6, maybe 7 mil per hour, depending on your kill speed. So yeah, Armadillo surprisingly gets to be there. And next we have Krill, and Krill doesn't make as much as Armadillo, but it does make a decent amount more than Bandos and the F tier bosses. So again, I'm going to put this at the very bottom of D tier. It's I don't want to put these in F tier because they're not actually horrible money. I'm kind of reserving F tier for the bosses that are like, why would you go there other than hunting the pet? But yeah, I will put Krill in D tier, so not too bad. So next we have Legios, a very controversial boss, because the drop rate is so weird. It's so, common to get a signet, but some people can go very dry. But in the long term, Legios are very decent money. Now, again, if this was a year ago, Ascensions were like 250 mil each. So you could make a solid like 40-ish mil an hour if you got the average drop rate and weren't unlucky. But nowadays, Ascensions are like 90 to 100 mil each. So it definitely has dropped a bit, but you can still probably make a solid 20 mil or so per hour here. So Legios deserve to be in C tier. Not too bad, a bit RNG based, definitely very RNG based. I did spend like $1 billion on keys before and made a little bit of money. It all depends on your RNG, but definitely should go there. So next we have the Magister, another boss which I've killed like 4,000 of, and it used to be a lot better money than it is. Kopeshes have kind of become very, very cheap, so you're not really doing Magister for Kopeshes. You're more likely doing it to get the Vital Spark drops, which is going to make you just as much as the Kopeshes. Now, Magister used to be like 40, 50 mil per hour. Nowadays, it's probably in this C tier at around 50 to 20 mil an hour. So decently solid, but like Legios has kind of taken a step back. But a boss that hasn't really taken a step back is Nex. For Nex, you can solidly get around 40-ish mil per hour, 30 to 40 mil per hour. Definitely deserves to be here, kind of in the Araxor group, which is where I've always seen it. I've always seen Nex and Araxor is pretty similar, and they seem to be like that. Next, we have QBD. Now, QBD is an interesting boss. It's one that I used to really like doing back in the day, but the GP per hour just isn't really there anymore. Now, I'm very tempted to put QBD in the F tier, but it's really hard for me. It still is like kind of a solid 4 mil, 3 to 4 mil per hour, so I don't feel comfortable putting it all the way in F tier, so it's going to go in D tier. Again, nothing crazy, just kind of a decent boss. So next we have the Rex Matriarchs. Now this really depends on what Rex Matriarch you're camping, because the blue one that drops the Heart of the Seer, which the Heart of the Seer goes for like 60 plus mil now. This one is where you're going to make much more money than if you were doing the other ones. So at the blue one, you can make like around 25 mil an hour. So I think it can go in the C tier here. The other ones, you're going to make a little bit less, like 7 to 12 mil per hour, because, the hearts aren't as expensive, but they are decently solid if you can find a way to AFK them. So definitely C tier. And then next we have one of my absolute, if not my favorite boss in RuneScape, Raksha. So Raksha, I think, is going to be the first boss in this middle S tier. You can make around 70 to 80 mil an hour here if you can get a, solid amount of kills per hour, if you're pretty speedy with them, because Greater Ricochet still is very expensive, but shockingly, Greater Chain has gone up a ton in price over the past year or so since it's used at a lot more places. So Greater Chain actually gets you almost as much as Greater Ricochet if you get it as a drop. So that's very exciting for Raksha, and Raksha is definitely in this S tier here. I'm tempted to move Croesus up here. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think Croesus should be, in this S tier or A tier? I think it's very close. I'm going to move it to this S tier just for now, but it's just really a tough one for me. So next we have Barrow's Rise of the Six, a kind of old boss, but the boss still does make decent money. It actually goes in B tier, surprisingly. If you have a team, you have chinners, and you can get these kills super fast, you can make like 30 to 40 mil an hour, maybe even more. So Rots, yes, in B tier, which to me is a surprise because I thought it was kind of going to be, down in the dumps since so much time has gone by, but no, it's still pretty solid. All right, so next we have Siryu in Elite Dungeon 1. Now, Siryu is on a similar level to the other Elite Dungeon bosses. He can make you around 28 to 45 mil per hour, depending on how many runs you can do per hour. Now, if you're somebody that's insanely fast, that can do like 4 runs per hour, he can make you any more. I'm going to put him at the bottom of A tier. He's certainly closer to B tier than the Ambassador is, but still very solid and deserving of that tier. So next we have Solak, who has had some changes in the past year. So Solak actually drops a Grimoire page guaranteed every kill now, which is like 5.7 mil. So in total at Solak in an hour, if you can get a decent amount of kills, like 7 to 8, you're going to be looking at upwards of like 80 mil or more per hour. So I think Solak definitely deserves to be up here in S tier above Raksha and Croesus. Definitely at the higher end of the S tier, not quite to that 100 mil an hour or more, but pretty dang close, and a boss that I've been enjoying myself a lot lately as well. So now the next boss has a huge variability, but if you're very, very good at it, you can make absolutely crazy money. So surprisingly, Telos, even though orbs are way cheaper in price, Telos is still absolutely insane money. So if you're really good at it and you can do 2,449% claims, if you do this and you get 10 to 11 kills per hour, you're going to make like 140, 150 mil GP per hour, because at that point, orbs are insanely common. You're going to get like 1 every 2 hours. You have the dormant SGB, which is like 1 billion GP, I think. It might actually be more than that now, which is also factored in there. So Telos, if you can do it at the highest in rages, like 2,449%, you can definitely put this in SS tier. Now, if you're doing like 999% claims, you can still make like 60, 70 mil per hour. If you're streaking, you can still make a decent amount. But yeah, Telos at the high end is still absolutely one of the best, if not the best. So next we have Virago, which has also had some changes. So Virago is now soloable, kind of like Solak is. So you can easily go in and solo if you want to without having to do any tricks or anything. Now for Virago in like a trio, normal 3-man team, you can make like 50 to 60 mil an hour. You can make similar, a little bit more for duo, and then solo you can make even more. So Virago is definitely up here in the S tier. I don't think it quite hits the SS tier, but it's definitely a very solid boss, and we're almost done here, just a few more to go. So next we have Saradomin. Now while Saradomin is not as bad as Bandos, it's still not like Kriar or anything. Again, tempted to put it in the F tier with Bandos, but I'll put it at the very bottom as well. You can make a little bit of money here, but again, nothing too much. And the rest of these bosses here are just, you know, placeholders for like the other elite dungeon bosses that really don't drop anything. But we do have one final real boss, which is Zuck. Now for Zuck, about a year ago, the weapon actually went for like 3 bill. So every time you got a weapon piece, you're getting like 1 bill. Magma Tempest is pretty much the same price, a little bit less, but the weapon has fallen almost half in price. It's like 1.3, 1.4 bill for the weapon from Zuck. So while Zuck was like 140, 150 mil per hour if you could get 2 kills per hour, now it's around, it seems like 85 to 90 mil an hour. It's very close to that SS tier. This is probably actually the hardest one for me because it's super close to that 100 mil per hour. You could debate that it actually is. I'm going to put it at the top of S tier. Let me know what you guys think below. Should Zuck be in SS tier? So I almost forgot about the newest boss in RuneScape, which is Zamrock. I'm happy I remembered because this boss is deserving of SS tier. Zamrock right here, as you can see, deserves to be in the top SS tier. If you're doing like just 50% in rage kills and you're doing a lot per hour, meaning you can get very speedy kills, you can make like 70 to 80 mil an hour just doing that. Now, if you're somebody that can do 300% kills or even higher, you can make over 100 mil per hour here. The new bow is still extremely expensive, and Zamrock is by far one of the best bosses in the game for GP right now. Let me know what you guys think. Of course, this is just based on, you know, research I found based on the GP per hour. Again, things are constantly changing, so in a week, this might be a little bit different. Let me know what you guys think below, and like the video if you enjoyed this type of content, and I'll see you in the next one.